Hey YouTube, in this week's video I'll be making a Damascus steel ring and I'm going to inlay it with 3 Alexandrite gemstones. And for this ring I had a customer email me and he had the idea for the ring, and it turned out to be really challenging, but it was also a really fun project. So I filmed the whole process and I decided I wanted to share it with you all. And if you want any of your own custom rings or anything like that, you can go to my website and send me your idea. Just use the contact form on there, and then I'll get back to you with a quote or whatever information you'll need for your idea. And then one final thing I'll mention is that I just started an email newsletter. So to kick that off, I decided to do a giveaway. So I'm going to be giving away a meteorite ring, and all you have to do to enter is just go to my website. There'll be a pop-up and it'll ask if you want to subscribe to my newsletter. All you need to do is put in your email, and then I'll pick the winner at the end of the month. And then going forward, we'll be doing monthly giveaways and then discount codes and all of that in the newsletters. So just go sign up, and there'll be a ton of content there. Just awesome stuff for you guys to see, as well as a bunch of discounts and giveaways. So check that out. So to start things off with this ring, I'm just cutting a blank off my stainless steel Damascus rod, and I'm just using my metal bandsaw for this. Next, I'm drilling out the center of the blank on my lathe, and that's just so that I can fit my boring tool inside of it to shape it. Now I'm using the boring bar to widen the inside of the ring, and then I'm being really careful not to overshoot the diameter of the ring, because even like a 0.1 millimeter difference, if it's too big, the ring won't fit properly. That's just 0.1 millimeters, so that's super small, and it still just makes a big difference. So be really careful. I don't show it on camera, but this is actually my 3rd attempt at this ring, so that was pretty frustrating, but I got it figured out. Just be super careful if you're doing it yourself. Now I have the inside diameter exactly how I want it, and notice I'm leaving the edges sharp for now, and that's just so it'll fit properly on the ring mandrel, but soon I'm going to come back and smooth that all out, give it a nice comfort finish so it's a really comfortable ring to wear. Now I've got the ring on the mandrel, and I'm trimming it down to the correct outside diameter, and then I just use my calipers to mark the center of the ring, and that is so I'll know exactly where to drill the holes for the Alexandrite, because I don't want it to be too far to the left or the right side of the ring, and so that'll get it perfectly centered. And then I just followed the calipers up with a file so that I could just so the line would be a little more visible. Here's a quick sketch of where I'm going to place the Alexandrite stones on the rings. And then I'm just making and tracing the lines on this paper, and so that way I can accurately space those stones out so that they can be perfectly even. Now I need to accurately drill the holes, and I was super careful on this step because if I didn't drill everything perfectly accurate, I'd have to start all over. So you can see I took my time. I made this custom jig out of wood so that the ring would fit perfectly in there, and so that once I clamped it down, it'd be in the exact same location, left and right, and as well as up and down. So every time I brought the head of the mill down, it'd be in the exact same location on the ring. and the only thing I can adjust is rotating the ring, which is what I need to do the 3 holes in it. So one in the middle and then 2 on either side of it. And on this close-up shot, you can see exactly how far into the Damascus steel I drill, and I spent a lot of time setting the depth stop on my mill so it could be just perfect, just enough so that the Alexandrite would fit down into the hole, and then not have any edges protruding, but not so far down there that it's kind of down in a hole. So I spent a lot of time doing that, making sure everything's just super accurate. So I drilled the 3 holes, and now I'm just doing a quick test fit, just to make sure all the gemstones fit perfectly in there. So now that I know they'll fit, I'm going to go ahead and finish up the last few steps before I actually set them in there. So like I mentioned earlier, I said I was going to come back and put the comfort finish on the ring, so that's what I'm doing here. I'm just using this lathe bit to go and bevel the inside, and then I'm going to go ahead and use the Dremel to sand and smooth that all out. So that's just going to be a lot more comfortable. And then after that, I used 220 grit sandpaper, and I did that all over the entire ring. And that's my favorite just sanding level to get just a really nice acid etch on the ring. And it actually does make a pretty good difference. The rougher you make it, the more surface area the ring will have, and then the better the acid can kind of infiltrate the ring. But if you do it too rough, then that rough texture is going to show up even after you're done etching. And so you want to kind of get that perfect medium, and for me 220 grit is exactly where I want that. Now I'm finally etching the ring so we can see that awesome Damascus steel pattern. And what I'm putting this in is just a mix of 50% muriatic acid solution and 50% hydrogen peroxide. And the way this process works is because Damascus steel is made of 2 different types of steel. So one type is resistant to the acid while the other is less resistant. So one of them dissolves, leaving low points, while the other remains, leaving high points. And you can see all those raised edges that I was talking about here in this close-up shot. I really love this Damascus steel pattern. I think it looks really cool. Now I'm putting the ring back on the mandrel, and I'm going to sand and polish, and I'm just going to sand the raised edges. And so to do that, I glued sandpaper onto this steel bar, and so that way it won't conform to the texture of the ring, and that way I'm only going to sand the high points. So I'm just knocking those high points down. I'm using 220 grit and then 320 grit so I can get a nice shiny finish on the high points, and then you have the more of a matte finish on those low points. And finally, I'll be gluing in the Alexandrite gemstones. So I'm using E6000 adhesive for this, and I'm just going to fill in each hole. I made sure to use enough so that there was a little bit excess, so that when I squeezed in or pushed in the stone, it would squeeze out a little bit of the glue. And that's totally fine. You want to use more rather than not enough. And so it's just super easy to wipe away once it cures up a little bit. And then I'm just going to let this cure for 24 hours. That's going to make sure the stones stay in there really nice and strong. And the ring is totally finished now. And this ring was one of the hardest rings to ship because I seriously wanted to keep this thing. I spent probably at least 20 hours on it, and it turned out exactly how I envisioned it. So I'm super happy with it. I worked with a really awesome customer. He had a really great idea for this. So this was a really fun project. I'm really glad I was able to do it. But anyways, guys, that's it for this video. Please do leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And you can also watch all my other videos or check out my website just by clicking or tapping on any of these end screen cards that are showing up right here. So thanks for watching, guys. I will see you in next week's video.